Hi my friends, good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today's video is about something I've been noticing over the last several years, but something that I'm really feeling shifting in the space of romantic relationships. And if you've been following me for a while, then you would know I have been told that I have this, like, part of my calling is to teach about the true nature of unconditional love and the true nature of relationships, and romantic relationships really being a facet of the dualistic system. This is like a big a big role. Like, always, like, I'm not really sure that I can do that. But I keep getting messages like this, and so I feel like part of my mission is to share some of these sort of updates as we're moving along, sort of like different checkpoints. Because I think that I just want to start with this. I think that our idea of what relationships are is very, very, very limited. It's like more advanced than it's been in the past, like in the last 2,000 years. But in the big scope of things are how we see relationships, how we act in relationships. A lot of it is around the idea that there's a vibe of ownership in relationships. And this is actually coming in. So, like, do I want to share this? Because the theme of today's video is different. I'm going to stay on theme. That might be a different video. So today's theme that I'm noticing is a lot of women, as you guys know, we've been really over masculinized. We've been forced to be able to operate in both our masculine energy and feminine energy, literally to be able to survive. And so most women have a stronger masculine energy than is necessarily their unique essence of that. So I'm going to share myself as an example because I think that's the easiest. And then we'll go into the theme. So 3 years ago, if I was to, like, say the percentage of my masculine and feminine energy, I was probably like 75-25 or 70-30. Like, really strong masculine energy, really like go-getter, ambition, like top employee wherever I worked, like that sort of energy. And then when I started learning about polarity and learning about things of that nature, I realized, okay, well, in relationships, like, I don't want to be holding the masculine energy, but it's actually quite difficult I'll say it's a skill set, but it is pretty hard to be really strong in your masculine energy and then hold the feminine in your relationship. There's two poles, masculine and feminine, and while we each have both of those within us, someone has to take the masculine role, someone has to take the feminine, and that actually might switch, like, in moment to moment, but primarily in your relationship, one person is going to hold the masculine pole. And I realized, looking in my family, every single woman in my family that I know, for the most part, maybe I'm like thinking of a couple strays, for the most part, every one of them held the masculine pole in their relationships. So I was like, okay, so not only has society trained me this way, but I've also literally only seen examples in my family of women wearing the pants. In many cases, women who are deemed as, like, really successful, really powerful, but all holding the masculine pole. And that's not a bad thing, except I knew that I wanted to be holding the feminine pole, except I didn't know how to be in my feminine energy because I never was taught how to. I never had the space to be able to really sink in with my feminine energy. And on top of that, I was using weed, and I'll put in one of these corners one of my videos that I've done about stopping daily use of weed. And I was using that in my spare time really to, like, cover up, I think, a lot of different things, a lot of my gifts, but that were related to my feminine energy. So something that I've been noticing in myself, for sure, over the last 3 years, I've been melting into my feminine and then learning how to balance my masculine and feminine. This happens with almost everyone. Once you start engaging with your feminine, you're like, oh my God, this is like delicious. And you go all the way over here to the feminine, and then you're like, wait, but I also need masculine. Now I feel like unstructured, unbalanced. And you find your unique rhythm in the middle. So now and tell me if this is resonating for you as well, because this is definitely not just a me thing. This is definitely something that's been energetically happening over the last 3 years. But it's interesting because the theme that I was feeling coming in today is like, we're at this next kind of check mark where, you know what I'm trying to say, the next, like, what's the word? We'll just say check mark. Like checkpoint. It's called a checkpoint. That's what I meant. Okay. We're at a new checkpoint. And I feel like checking in with women, a lot of us have softened into our feminine energy, balanced it out. But also I feel like there's this thing like sweeping the nation. I feel like there's this understanding that, you know, what the feminist movement brought in was important for us to get equality, but also it forced us to become men as well as women, right? We all know this, or a lot of people know this. And in relationship, it also created a lot of issues in relationship because it had women come into the masculine pole, which creates a lot of disease in our relationships because this is my opinion that it's not the natural, like we're going against our natural rhythms. So for example, like if you're dating and you're holding the masculine pole as you're dating someone, you're, as a woman, women are like, men are designed to pursue a woman. But because of what's been happening with these switching of poles, you'll see, I've experienced this and I know a lot of other women have too, that men aren't showing up in some cases, not all cases, definitely not all, aren't showing up as the ones pursuing because it's like they don't really need to anymore because the women will do it for them. It's like we will do their job for them, so it becomes so much easier. And that screws everything up. If you are a woman who wants to be in the masculine, like this video is not for you. You're probably not watching this. This is for those of you who are like, no, I want to hold the feminine pole. And so I feel like the thing that's sweeping the nation is like, or the world, is this energy of like, no, I want to be pursued. And I don't want to be the one leading the relationship. I don't want to be the one making the plans. I want to be in my gifting and my feminine energy. And I want him to be in his gifting as a leader, as a provider, and like we're going back to some of these, you could call them like more traditional values, but what I've been noticing, because I like just in that I've had a lot of resistance myself of like, well, I'm not trying to be just like a housewife. Like I have a mission and I have a purpose and I want to go for that. And it's not like, I always think about, you know, the 50s housewife with like the apron and she's holding an apple pie when her husband comes home from work. And like her whole life, like she's suppressed in her feminine energy, even though she's playing the role of the housewife, she is suppressed. She's not in her feminine energy because feminine energy is full spectrum. The goddess representations show us all of the different forms of our feminine energy. So we have Kali, the destroyer. We've got, and I'm just going to name some of them. Then there's like the fertility goddesses, and then there's, you know, the like Aphrodite, the goddesses of love and beauty and sensuality. And then there's warrior goddesses. And then there's so many flavors of the feminine. It's not just the housewife. That's what we were told 70 years ago in 1950, right? So anyways, we're not going back to that version of like, that's not what I'm feeling coming in. It's this feeling of like, how do we work with our innate gifting and our masculine energy and our feminine energy and learning? And this is what we've been doing. So we've been, and this definitely doesn't apply to the whole world. It applies to probably you if you're watching this. And the way I'll say it is that it probably applies to a specific like wave of consciousness. That's how I'll say it. Where we've been really looking at, where am I operating in my wounded masculine energy? Where am I operating in my wounded feminine? Where am I really strong and powerful in my feminine? Like, what are my strengths there? What are my strengths in my masculine? And looking and like balancing and healing each of these energies. healing the parts of ourself where, in masculine energy, maybe you would have tried to force something before, or maybe you would have like been using your masculine energy so much that you ignored that your body's like, honey, we need some rest. And like anyways, there's a lot of different things. And with feminine, a lot of what's been coming up in the wounding is our manipulative qualities. And that was shown firsthand in that Amber Heard case that was so popular. Because for so long, women didn't have any power. So literally what women would be teaching each other from generation to generation was like subtle ways to get what you want, which is manipulation. And so a lot of us have been having to look at, where are you doing something even on a really subtle level? Because a lot of this is very, very subtle. It's not like Amber Heard, like that whole thing is like very, like I was going to say a word, I'm not going to say it. That's a very extreme version of manipulation. So anyways, that we've been seeing a lot of the ways that we're operating out of the healthy masculine and feminine, and then healing that, looking at it. And now I feel like this specific wave of consciousness, which you guys are probably in this if you're watching this video, because we attract similar energies. So if you're drawn to me, we're probably in the same wave of consciousness. Anyways, long story short, so there's this more like this like upgraded traditional version of our innate skill sets and the pole that we're wanting to hold. And so I'm like, you know what? Like for the first time in my life, I'm like, I like really just want to be provided for, and God provides for me. But I'm like, I want to be provided for by like a physical man. Like I really want to be provided for, and I don't want to be the one who's making more money, and I don't want to there is just this major softening, and like that might seem like I don't care what you think about me, like truly, but that might seem like a surface level thing, but it's also all of the aspects of that coming within. And so here's an example of that. So something that I've realized is that and you might not agree with this is my opinion, but I think that it's true. I believe when a woman makes more money than a man, it naturally shifts in 99.99% of cases. Maybe you're an outlier if you're watching this and you're like, no, Allie, you're wrong. I'm sure that there are outliers, but I think in the vast majority of cases, when a woman makes more money than a man, it shifts the poles, and a woman then is not going to be as attracted to the man. Not because you have to have money to be like attractive, but because the providership quality changes. So you're then, as the woman, providing more for the man. And it's like, that's just like not the biological, and I know some of you might not like that word, but just go with me or throw this away. I don't care. It's not the biological, like innate nature. And no matter what you identify as gender-wise, this applies. Someone will have the masculine role and someone will have the feminine. So if you are behaving in your relationship in a way that is not like the pole that you're wanting to be in, is not the same energy, there's going to be attraction issues. There's going to be like libido issues. How much problem do we have of that? You know what I'm trying to say? We have a huge problem with libido issues in relationships. And then a lot of times, like you'll see someone in a relationship might have a libido issue with their partner, but maybe then they're attracted to something else outside. And it's usually because that something else outside is holding the energy that they wish that their partner would be in. But we have to learn how to hold that pole. It's not anyone else's fault. So this is actually a significant unlearning. I've personally been working on this for 3 years, and I'm noticing I'm like just now, truly, like, I mean, I've been making small progress along the way, but I'm like just now seeing myself really start to shift in how I'm showing up, and like, no, I'm not gonna take the masculine energy. Like, for example, if someone isn't communicating with me in the way that I want, I'm like, my tendency, because I do have strong masculine energy, even though it's more balanced out now, my tendency is like, oh, well, I'll just like ask when they're going to come over, or I'll just like, and I'm like, no, Now I'm like, no, and I'm not actually acting on those patterns or behaviors because I'm like, that's not the role that I want to take. And the thing is, when you hold a certain pole, the other person is forced to be in the other pole. So if I'm holding the feminine and I'm dating someone who's like trying to hold the feminine, but I'm not letting them because I'm not going to go into the masculine pole, then they will either hold the masculine or they will exit because they aren't willing to hold the masculine. And so I think a second theme you could say here is, and I've been talking about this, I have a new Instagram page called Ancient Feminine. This is where I'm going to be talking about more. I feel like I have two separate missions. One is like helping people with their soul mission, and uncovering like more of their soul's true essence. And then the other mission is about teaching the goddess mysteries and initiating people into and through the goddess mysteries. And this is also where this topic lies. So I'm going to be sharing more about this stuff in Ancient Feminine. So I was just sharing something yesterday or a couple days ago about how as women, we are raising men. Not only are you birthing sons, but also as a collective. So this is like an individual thing, but it's also the impact is really had when we do this collectively. Like when we all band together and decide like, hey, we're collectively not going to deal with this anymore. So it's like if all women are like, hey, I'm not going to like take back men after they lie to me or cheat on me. Like then men would have nowhere to go. There would be no option. So for example, if like I'm a woman with high standards, which I am, like I'm a woman with high standards. If I don't allow a man to treat me in a certain way and he can go to someone else and act the exact same way because her standards perhaps like aren't as high or she's not holding them or something, if he can do the same thing with her and still get what he wants or get what he needs, then there's not actually like a physical requirement for them to grow. So and this is just like a made up scenario, like if this person could go to someone else and like be cheating or be lying and they get away with it and the woman like keeps taking them back, they're not forced to confront their lack of integrity. They're not forced to confront that because someone else allows them to operate in that. And I've also experienced this like in one of my older relationships. My partner let me get away with everything. He never really held me accountable when I would act in ways that I shouldn't have acted. And I dated someone else afterwards. It was like, no, I will walk. Like, you're not going to do that. And I changed because of that. So it's the same as women. If we say, hey, we're not collectively, we're not going to go into the masculine. They need to hold the masculine energy. And especially in the spiritual world, like I get heated about this. I made a video about spiritual fuckboys. I'll put this up in the corners. I made this last year, I think. There's a lot of people in the spiritual community, a lot of men that are, and this probably goes all around, but I'm just in this community, so I see it a lot more with my friends and people like I've experienced or, just all around. Men like, well, let's just see how things go, or let's just like not put any labels on anything. Like that is a man in his feminine energy. And then this is exactly what I'm talking about. Then it forces as you, the woman, to go into the masculine of like, okay, well, what are we doing here? What's the intention? Because he is meant to be setting that. And it's just not serving us. It's not serving us. And it's not serving men either. And it's actually making all of us weaker. And it's like, you can see that it's not just like on one, like it's not just on men or women. It's like we all are playing our parts. So women, what we can do, and this is the thing that's coming in as like the second theme, is how do we hold the pole that we really want to be in when someone is trying to get us to go into the other pole? This takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-awareness, because these are really deeply ingrained patterns. Remember how I was saying in the beginning of this video that like my whole family operates with this pattern. I've never seen anyone, well, I'll say this. I've seen so few models in my close family of women actually holding the feminine in a relationship. so I actually don't know what it looks like, so I'm learning. And you probably are too, because like and the other thing too here with this is, even if you've had examples of women holding the feminine in a relationship, it's probably been the suppressed feminine. It probably hasn't been like we just don't have that many examples of relationships that are like, I want to say power couple, but I think that our idea of that is even wrong, because you might be like, oh, J-Lo's a power woman, right? Like J-Lo and like, who was that baseball guy she dated, like Alex Rodriguez or something, like, oh, power couple. But like J-Lo's actually, she's in her feminine energy, but she has strong masculine energy. Like, I think she probably wears the pants in any relationship. So my point is, even the power couples we see, it's like a lot of times those women are in their masculine. And that's not bad, but it's like, where this is, I feel like this is one of my charges in life. And I'm like, I can't wait to see the husband that's going to let me do this. But like, we get to start creating these examples, and it's like allowing ourselves to become this. This is actually what it feels like. We have to become this individually, and then it's created in partnership, where a woman can be in her full spectrum feminine and a man can be in his full spectrum masculine. And the two just complement each other so beautifully. And there's not any suppressedness in any of that. They're both in their full spectrum. Like the dark masculine, the light masculine is honored. The dark feminine, the light feminine are. So anyways, this feels like the next evolution in relationships. And if you enjoy content like this, stay on my channel, like subscribe to the channel, because this is something that I'm like periodically updating. Like I get these waves that's like, oh, we've hit another milestone in the shifting of the divine partnership. And so there's a new wave of relationships that's starting to come in, and we have to become ready for it though. And that's what's happening energetically. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know if this resonates, if you're feeling some of that, or maybe if you're not. Also, thanks for dealing with my hair. I just switched to like soft water filter in my shower, because my water in my bathroom is my water is really hard water, and it was like starting to mess with my hair. And so I have to figure out how to work with it, because the soft water like changes the texture. So thanks for not judging. Anyways, share this video with someone if you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a beautiful rest of your day.